This is exactly the same pitch as the Iraq War. Weapons of mass destruction.
Oh, I know.
You have to get it. So they understand one thing. They think the playbook works. This is why we have to stop it now. If we don't stop it now, it's going to work all the time. They think that playbook of lulling the American people to sleep and telling them there's these evil people that have to be taken down, and if they're taken down, everything's going to be fine after that, and that we face an apocalypse if that doesn't happen. They're running the Iraq War playbook over again with almost some of the same players, or at least the proteges, right, in the verticals of who those players were.
But why does the institutional conservatism allow it?
You know what's interesting about those two men? They have played very big parts in allowing President Trump to be where he is and to continue to do what he does. The amount of lies and propaganda those two have spread is enormous. Not too long ago, Steve Bannon was super excited about Trump maybe attempting to run for a third term. These are the same guys who said that the election was rigged when Biden got elected and caused a whole lot of trouble. Steve Bannon is the one that said that they're flooding the zone right now, doing all of these terrible things at once to overwhelm the opposition.
I strongly believe in the flood the zone theory, which is just overwhelm the opposition.
At a certain point, there's only so much from the executive that he can do, right? When are we going to hit that point?
Untrue. I think you see right now, I say it's both scale, depth, and urgency. That's why you're seeing, and look, I strongly believe in the flood the zone theory, which is just overwhelm the opposition. And I think President Trump has done an amazing thing, is you pick all the different verticals you're going to and you just drop the hammer. It's executive orders, executive action, all of this.
They called the rest of us, the opposition. Tucker Carlson totally just kissing up to Trump and Putin, all of them, for years. Both of them laying down this groundwork for at least a decade now. And boy, their stance on immigration, especially Steve Bannon, these guys are not heroes to us.
If you're not an American citizen, you're here illegally, there's no due process. And I'm telling you, this is coming to a head. We are going to suspend the writ of habeas corpus if the courts keep ruling against this and don't allow these mass deportations to continue. Just like President Lincoln, this was an invasion. The country's at war. He's commander-in-chief. It's Article 2 power.
However, just because they might not have had a great history of being the people that we wanted to have, they seem to be, at least in part, the heroes that we need. And I know that sounds a bit like too much credit for them, considering these guys are the Dr. Frankenstein's that built this monster for sure. Right?
I actually really love Trump. I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq, and that war is the sum total, from a historical perspective, of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do.
But I like the FAFO here. I like that they're not completely drinking the orange Kool-Aid. There is a sense that they're not just blindly following the king's orders. And that's delightful to see. And I hope their voices help influence others to not just be blindly following the king's orders as well. I think that's a huge, huge chunk of progress there. But when you hear what Bannon says on the flip side, though, I heard Jon Stewart talk about this, and I've seen a bit more news from Steve Bannon's mouth himself. He doesn't want us to focus so much on wars overseas as he wants us to focus our resources, our government and military resources on what's happening in the States, the immigration invasion. That's like his big thing there. So I don't know if I'm in Steve Bannon's corner at all because of that. It sounds like his reasons for being against this whole Iranian war is nefarious at best. But Tucker Carlson's interesting. I don't want to say he's a man of truth. I don't think he is. But one thing I've noticed just watching various clips of him and listening to him talk, he has definitely spoken out against specific acts of violence over the years. He does seem to have a certain feeling for when innocents are affected by certain acts of violence. And I say it like that because it doesn't seem like it's that way when it comes to immigration. I want to make that very clear. They all seem like they're okay with that. Marjorie Taylor Greene, too. All of them are speaking up against this Iranian war. They're totally okay with the violence on our soil. They're breaking the law, so screw them. You know what I mean? Legality versus morality, you know, the right thing versus the legal thing. It's okay to be terrible to people and put them in concentration camps and make them sleep on floors wearing tinfoil blankets and no showers, just so long as they broke the law by running away from a country that they're fearing for their lives from and illegally coming into this country. Therefore, they deserve to be mistreated. You know, that kind of stuff. That's me with the Captain America shield there. Thank you very much, Shane. I don't know him. He was an awesome dude. I don't want to show his face too much in case he doesn't want to be seen. But he was awesome. Wonderful No Kings rally. That was a lot of fun. Anyways, we need more Steve Rogerses and Sam Wilsons and Bucky Barnes in our lives. Be one of them. But if you happen to be a John Walker, that can be okay too sometimes. Even John Walker can look good if the people he's up against happen to be worse. You know what I mean?